So in this video, I'm going to show you how to avoid the issue of a misfire on cold startup with the General Motors 3.6 liter engine. Going to use Seafoam and spray it down the engine while the engine's at about 2,000 RPM. And the reason why you want to be around 2,000 RPM is to draw enough vacuum in there to get to the back cylinders and make sure that those intake valves are getting the Seafoam treatment as well. I'm going to start the vehicle up, make sure it's fully warmed up. I'm going to hold it at 2,000. I'm going to spray my cleaner down there on both sides real good, and then I'm going to shut the car off and let that soak on the top of them valves. And then about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to start the car up, and I'm going to rev it up, and you're going to see the carbon come out of the exhaust that once was stuck to those valves. Basically, doing this process multiple times, 2 to 3 times, I'm going to actually do it 4 times in this video, should give net pretty good results as far as reducing or eliminating the cold start misfire. It might take multiple times to do this, more than 4 times depending on the severity of your issue, but for me 4 times did the trick on this vehicle. So here's a video on how I did it. It may not be the exact perfect way, but this is how I did it, and it works good for me. I do it on multiple vehicles all the time. Okay, so what I'm doing here is, this is a Cadillac CTS4 that I'm fixing up. It has a 3.6 liter direct injection engine. Yes, not. So I'm pulling this off here because I'm going to put some cleaner down in there and try to loosen up the gum on these intake valves, because the direct injection sprays into the combustion chamber, not through the heads or the intake, anywhere before the valves, so the valves carbon up from excessive idling from remote starts and just cold weather, all kinds of crap. So anyways, we'll really determine that when we go to clean the throttle body, but for right now we're going to go through and clean these intake valves as much as possible and see how much crap we can get out of there, because when it's real cold, this car won't even stay idling for about 3 minutes without my foot on the gas. So obviously you're telling me that we're losing compression, and if you rev it up enough it might stay running, but I have to open the throttle to keep it running, or even to get it to start initially. So today we're going to go through and do a carbon cleaning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a plug like this. I don't know if this fits yet. Okay, this fits. And you want to make sure it fits tight so you don't get a vacuum leak. This is just positive crankcase ventilation of the valve cover. Then what I do is I take my pick tool and I poke a small hole in there. I'll just show you. Get a straight one like that. These aren't very sharp because you get used a lot. But so then you want to just get in here in the center somewhere and poke a small hole in there, not too big. And then we're done with that. When you're preparing to do this injection flush, the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that the engine is good and warmed up. So I had this running for a while. Engine's going to be up to, that's about normal operating temp, about 180, 200, somewhere in that area. Make sure that you got enough gas to do this. I'm really low, but it doesn't matter. This is a device that we use nowadays to run the throttle, because throttle by wire sucks and you can't just do it under the hood anymore. So you could use a scan tool and do all that crap, but it just exceeds device limits and all this stuff. I just do this and it works good too. So I got the exhaust system hooked up the outside because you don't want to be breathing this crap in. I also have the exhaust fan on, but I'll have a dual exhaust setup going. I guess that's the only way to do a dual exhaust, to run all these other hoses that don't reach over to that other door over there, but it's not working for right now. So this is my setup. Like I showed you before, this is just a regular spark plug. I popped a little small pinhole in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jam this straw into the orifice there, and then I'm going to spray the cleaner, which you can use just about any kind that you like. This is Seafoam. I don't know, I've used a lot of that, had good luck on these cars, cleaning them up. I'm not saying it does a perfect job, but it does enough to make the car run 80% better. And if you want to pull the heads apart and go that route and clean everything up, that's up to you, but at the same time, I see this as an 80% improvement. Most people are satisfied with that. The car runs good. Just do it on a regular maintenance or something like that to try to avoid this from happening again. Maybe it might help. I don't have anybody who keeps on a constant regimen of these, and I don't own myself to personally sit there and keep up on it, but I could see that it would definitely benefit the vehicle at some point in runnability and drivability. So what we're going to do here now is I'm going to try to set this down here and modify the straw here. I'm just going to get it to put it to that. So what I do is I take the straw, and if you use your straw already, make sure you're safe with it, because there could be flammable chemicals in there still. You just want to take and run a little bit of heat. This is my little torch on it, and then you want to bend this like this. You can see I just bent it into a 90. Well, it needs to be wound up a little bit more. You're better off to have a little bit less heat and start off slow. Make sure you don't kink the actual straw so it can't flow as well. So I got that. Once you got it where you want it to be, hold it in place, cool it down with some water. It'll cool down a little faster, and now it's stiff like that. So that's a little trick for you guys if you want to try to make sure you're getting it down the intake. So now, get my hands off here. Now when I take this and I shove it down the intake, you can see I'm going to shove this down in here like this. And then once it goes down in there, it's going to 90 over, and it's going to shoot right down the mouth of the intake so that it gets evenly dispersed into both sides of the funnel. So I can turn it this way, and I can also turn it like this, and I can shoot it down this way, whatever I want to do. And I'll kind of give you guys a demonstration of how I do that too. So the engine's running right now. I'm going to crank up the RPMs on it, and then we're going to start injecting some of this cleaner in there and see if we can get it to blow some smoke outside, or enough that we can notice it anyways. Alright, so I'm going to crank it up to about 2200 RPMs, and we're going to shoot a little cleaner down the intake. About $2,000. It was revving too high. So right now I'm outside the shop. There's the exhaust hoses coming out. Here's my flashlight so you can kind of maybe see the light of the smoke a little bit better. We'll try to set this up so you guys can see the exhaust coming out here. And maybe on back. There we go, that's maybe a little bit better. Alright, I'm gonna go inside and start it up. I don't know, I feel like we got some results. We'll find out when I check the footage. Round 2 with the cleaner. Anyway, so now we're letting the intake cleaner sit on the tops of those valves where the carbon's keeping the seats from closing and making it run good, because when you start it up cold it always misfires because the carbon's hot, or cold, sorry, and it's hard, and then when the motor warms up it starts to soften up, and it will also start to kind of conform to the head, even if it's not necessarily on the seat where it should be sealing. It's sealing on the carbon a little bit more than the valve seat, and basically trying to clean that off and get back down to that valve seat again where it's sealing all the way and it starts up and runs good cold. You don't have like some carbureted kind of thing going on where you have to get the gas and stuff. This fuel injected car, direct injection, is the reason why you have this problem, because it doesn't keep rinsing off the valve, top of the valve on the intake side like traditional gasoline fuel injected engines do, and therefore you're bypassing the valve, and like I said, cold starts and stuff like that, it'll tend to carbon up those valves and they'll run bad. This vehicle in particular needs timing chains. We'll be doing that tomorrow. I already went through the whole thing, pulled the intake, put coils in it where needed, and I put all 6 new spark plugs in it. And now I realized that obviously it still wasn't running right. I cleared all the codes and drove it, and the only thing that returned was the correlation codes for the timing chain, so I'm going to do that tomorrow. But the reason I want to do this first was because I'm going to be changing the oil, and I got a cleaner in the oil right now to flush the oil because it's pretty rough stuff. And before I sell it, I'll probably run this oil out a couple hundred miles and then drain this out as well. But I'm going to drain this oil, and I want to make sure that all the Seafoam I put in this engine right now, if anything went down in the crankcase, it's going to get drained out when I drain this out, so I can get as much stuff cleaned out of this engine as possible. Especially if you're pulling that timing cover, you're going to get some coolant down in there. But anyways, long story short, for now I think that we're going to do 3 rounds of this and then see what kind of results we get. when we start it up. So basically right now it's just soaking because the engine's hot. That's why it's important to have the engine hot so that carbon's as soft as possible. And then when you run that intake cleaner down there, it kind of seems to activate a little bit easier and not on a hard carbon, and it will penetrate the carbon and break it down quicker and remove more deposits with less time. So just another quick tip, basically when it comes down to these direct injection engines too, when you're starting it up and your valves aren't seating because of carbon, you're basically having like a poor efficiency, obviously. And when this car was scanned originally, it had a catalyst efficiency code in it, and then it also had the correlation code. Well, the catalyst efficiency code was on the same bank that was throwing the multiple correlation codes on, whereas it seems like on my experience in a lot of these, bank 1 stretches more than bank 2. I don't know what the difference is there, but I feel like there's something to do with also the crankcase ventilation system on bank 2. I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what the issue is, but it always seems like you pull one valve cover off and it's nasty in there and carbon, and the other one seems like it's a lot cleaner. I don't know what that has to do with anything. It's something to do with the crankcase ventilation, but I do know that if it's going to miss every time you start it up cold because of the carbon on the valves and it's not seating, it's going to have excess fuel in the converter, and that can't necessarily burn that off as fast as it would like to. And being raw fuel, it's going to take a while to burn that off, and therefore you're going to get your efficiency codes. So what I'm going to do here is, after I do all this, do the timing chains. I got the misfires taken care of. I should have actually done this before I changed the spark plugs, the upper flush, but it'll be alright. I'll check the plugs afterwards. I have to wipe them off a little bit, whatever. I probably won't, but anyways, I'll check them. But the thing is, I think that the catalyst efficiency has kind of come due to the fact of the misfire and cold start too. So once I get this all figured out, I'm going to clear all the codes. I'm going to put some good miles on it, and then, like I said, change the oil again, and we'll see what codes come back. I mean, I'm always down to figure out what's going on and dig into it. So if the codes come on, great. If they don't come on, great. Either way, I don't care. We'll figure it out, right? Alright, so we're outside again. I'm just going to set the camera down. This is round 2 after sitting for about 5-10 minutes here. I'm going to set you guys up here so you can see what exactly comes out of the exhaust. Alright, go inside. Alright, I don't know what kind of crap came out of there, but hopefully a lot, because this thing definitely has some carbon buildup on the valve. And we're going to check that out too when we actually pull the intake off. We'll take a quick peek at what the valves look like. And then we might have to do another cleaning afterward, depending on what that looks like. Like I said, I'm changing oil a couple hundred miles anyway, so worst comes to worst. I just want to get as much crap out of this oil as I can, because it wasn't changed very regularly, obviously, so we got the timing chain problems, but these are also notorious for a bad chain setup and people using cheap oil. So anyways, I'm going to do another injection cleaning here. Seafoam, that's what I'm using. Cheap, works good. Alright guys, so we're gonna do this. I actually did another round, so this is actually like 4 rounds with the Seafoam cleaner in there. Oh, we'll see what it's like on the 4th round here. Oh, camera settling in nicely with some ice. Good deal. Alright, that's a wrap. Hopefully, you got some good footage, anyways, for you guys. And when we review it, I'm curious to see how much crap came out of there. When I took the hoses off the exhaust, there was a lot of black stuff in the water and the moisture in the exhaust system. I'll show you guys here. See all that crap? There's definitely some carbon in there built up. So hopefully we got some good results. We'll find out tomorrow when we pull the intake off. So typically you take a car out after you do an upper intake cleaning like that on the valves and take it for a good road drive and try to burn a bunch of that carbon and crap out of the exhaust. But I'm just going to do the timing chains on it because the gas is really low. And as you can see, I got the headlight out because this is the sport package where the headlights turn back and forth when you turn curves and corners. So it wasn't functioning properly on the other side, and there was a leak in the seal on it. So I pulled that out, dried out the inside of it. I'm gonna find the leak, and then I already fixed the headlight inside, I believe. I just have to road test it, but I'm not trying to drive at night right now with one headlight and just to get some gas. So we'll test drive it tomorrow after we get the timing chains done. Based on the General Motors 3.6 engine, basically they have a problem with misfire on cold startups. This vehicle in particular has about 140,000 miles on it, and during cold starts it will almost have like no compression almost and have a really hard time starting without having part throttle. So right now I'm going to do a induction cleaning with Seafoam and spray it down the intake plenum on both channels. If you can see in the plenum, there's 2 different sides to it, to each bank. I'm trying to spray it down both sides evenly as possible, and to do this you want to have as much intake vacuum as possible without having screaming RPMs. So I'm trying to run the engine right around 2,000 RPMs, and it seems like I had my best luck at about 1,200, and then it would creep up once I put the excess fuel in there, which was the Seafoam it was burning, and it would kind of creep the RPMs up. Most throttle-by-wired vehicles have a little bit different characteristics. This one here in particular seemed like it liked to ramp up with the excess fuel. Most of them stay pretty consistent. You might have better luck with your scan tool. I do some cars I don't. It's more of a pain, but it depends on your preference, what you want to do. What I'm doing here is just revving the car up and then running some cleaner down the intake basically. And you want to do this with the hot engine so that the carbon's already, softer. So then when the Seafoam gets in there and penetrates it, it will actually break it down easier and faster with less use of the actual material, which would be the Seafoam, and it can be more cost efficient for you as well. So basically, if you're trying to defeat this cold start and you've been through the ignition system and you've done the injector leak down test or the balance test on the injectors, and you still have issues with a cold startup misfire, you probably gotta either pull the intake off and take a look and just see what it looks like, or you might as well just do the cleaning and see how much crud comes out of there, because if you're anywhere near 100,000 miles and you're in cold weather conditions, startups consistently, and you're using your remote start a lot, where it's sitting there cold idling and idling and idling, it's building a lot of carbon in the engine. Basically, you're going to have the same issue. So today we're going to take and try to resolve this issue by breaking down as much of that carbon off there, and we're going to include a video in here to show you the results after. I did not take a before video. I just did it while the engine was still together because I knew it was an issue because I deal with this all the time. But I'll show you a picture, and you might look and see that it looks like there's still a lot of carbon in there, but if I can get a picture on here of what they look like bad, you'll definitely know there's quite a bit of significant difference in what we got for results than what we started with. Even though we didn't actually visually see what we started with, I just know from experience that they were in pretty bad condition compared to a lot of them that I've done in the past. So also another thing I wanted to touch on with this was if you're having like efficiency codes on your converters, PO420, PO430, that could be due to this cold start misfire as well, because raw fuel is being dumped into the exhaust system. You could be having P0300, which is random multiple misfire, and you don't know which cylinder is misfiring even when you scan it and monitor it. You could be having P01 or 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, and 306 as well for all 6 cylinders misfiring, or it could just be one in particular. I don't know, but this will touch on basically what you're having with your cold start misfire. Like I said, if you've been through the ignition system and balance tested your injectors as well. The exhaust definitely had some darker like smoke to it, basically saying that it got a lot of that carbon off and it burned it out and shot it out the exhaust pipe. Now if you still have converter efficiency issues after this, it might be an oil consumption issue, or it might be the fact that the converter is actually so clogged up or broken down to the point that it's not going to ever be back to that efficiency. You might just have to end up replacing it, or if you can find some other different alternative to doing that as well. The other thing is when I start it now, every time cold, it starts like a totally different car. Before I was acting more like characteristics of a carbureted car, having to give it throttle to get it to start and stay running for up to 2-3 minutes after a cold start, and otherwise it would just die at idle because it was misfiring so bad. Basically now I just start it up, I don't have to worry about it. I can hit the remote start and it fires up and it just idles perfect cold, doesn't matter. So I feel like we got some definitely good results out of this car because, like I said, it's a totally different car than what it was originally when we were first trying to start it and I bought it. Go ahead and comment in the comment section below if you have any other questions, maybe some of the finer details of what I'm doing here, or how the effectiveness of this works, or anything else about it. Also, if you want to see more videos that may be helpful in saving you money at home doing this stuff yourself, DIY repairs, follow my page, because this is kind of what my page is based off of, is DIY repairs and just a lot of automotive tips and car care products and stuff like that. So go ahead and follow the page, give me a like, subscribe, comment in the comment section below. Like I said, if you got questions or you want me to give you details on a specific make or model, I work on all kinds of cars, so feel free to comment. Thanks guys.